Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Let me check on my phone if everything is going smooth. Looks like really I need to reopen the stream on my phone and okay. Let me check. Okay, it's working fine. So we are on 223 number of our series, which is Late Night Talks or the Night Talks. We removed probably word late because it's not so, yeah. And from here, most probably I just return to my project. Actually, not from here. I just close it and I have another one, which was my previous chat bot stream. So, Sam, my dear computer, what's going on? Okay, looks like my broadcast was restored once I restored my computer. Okay, let's try to start. Welcome to the channel of Romantic Developer on our usual series, Late Night Talks or just Night Talks with Romantic Developer. Today we have our 273rd issue of this series. It started initially as 152 days stream challenge, which we successfully achieved because about 150 it's how many time you need to build a habit, build something which you can treat as culture, new culture in your family, in your life. And of course, if you stop doing that at some point of time, of course, it didn't work. So you need do it every day and so on. Other thing which I see that it's huge drops of my internet connection. So I'll try to reconnect my different different Wi-Fi endpoint, and looks like it's not dramatically improves. At least it looks slightly better, so hopefully it would be better as well. So yeah. So my let's start my chatbot, which we usually start with our stream service, and for that I'm just go and run command prompt, and in my command prompt probably I need to create a shortcut already. Go to my projects folder. Projects, Romantic Developer, YouTube, and Python, and I just need to execute stream, which should activate our virtual environment and start two new windows where we can see how our live chat is working. One screen is for actual live chat, which is connecting to my stream. It's connected from different account, not my stream account, and all of those described in my documentation on GitHub. It's open source project, so welcome to GitHub for that. And other one is just a Whisper real-time transcription service, so it would be a context to our chatbot, so it should be aware about what we are doing here. Also, I'm going to see my last stream wasn't updated for some reason. It's happened because it was issue updating a YouTube, and it was because the title was too long. Even I've created a beautiful and nice prompt to return only good titles. Sometimes it's slightly bigger than it should. So if you open it with Notepad++, we could see, oh, my title, please return to main screen. So you see that overall it's 106 characters in its length, which is pretty big. And political bias, exponential and complexities, and discussing, we could remove off discussing. We can use censorship, discussing sensitive topics. Now it's just 100 lines exploring. Let's remove, instead of and, let's use that character. So it's 99 positions. We just save it. Okay. And in that particular case, we can use that execute in Python main and we just call upload YouTube. Upload YouTube. And here for that prompt, we just copy to clipboard directory name. So, and while we do that, because when we process any file, okay, upload YouTube, update YouTube, of course, update YouTube. So when we create some download from YouTube or from whatever, we create some special file with all the information for our YouTube video, like YouTube video ID, etc. And then when we process that folder, multiple prompts, whatever, we can always go and try to update our initial YouTube video. Update YouTube looking for some specific files in our folder, like text, like title, txt, like actually even last version of title, txt, last version of description, last version of keywords, and it's last version of captions, and it will go and try to update everything in the live video. And as you see, it's updated all the all the yeah, title, description, and everything, and also deleted old captions and uploaded our new caption. I don't know why it's deleted 3 captions here, because it should be only 2. Like one caption is for automatic, one like previous caption because we managed to update something, and the last one, I don't know, we couldn't check already because we have only one caption. So yeah, I see issues with connection speed, and it's interesting because right using the internet at my home, hopefully only me, or it's very low usage, and I see some very severe degradation of the quality of the service. Last stream we talked about again political situation, because it's, you know, like some Rubicon in situation for Ukraine, and it's quite long, 3 years of war between Russia and Ukraine. The funny fact that no one ever declared actual war, and martial law, which we have in our country, it's kind of partial martial law. It's a limit freedom of speech, freedom of movement, every freedom of Ukrainian citizens quite a lot. It's very similar to what you will have when you have martial law because of war, but it's still, you know, what they call it's anti-terrorist operation. Before, when a Ukrainian fight with own territories who don't want to accept, yeah, some government change in Ukrainian politics in 2014, and they call it anti-terrorist operation, meaning that other people are terrorists. And then somehow Russia started something which they call, I even don't know how they call it right now. SVO, I know that acronym in Russian, but it's like some army operation, 2-letter S. Yeah, I need to remember. But yeah, it was interesting because no one ever called that a war, and even in Russia it was a law that if you call that a war, you go against official position and you will be punished. Somehow you will pay some money because of it, or you will be disallowed to take some places. So like teachers couldn't call it a war, for example. You and the kitchen call it whatever, but actually it's a war, of course. But the interesting thing that no country, non-Russia, not Ukraine, ever call it a war. Well, I mean, they don't declare war officially. But yeah, in Ukraine, it's martial law which prohibit movement of any man from 18 to 60 outside the Ukraine if they don't have any special documents. And special documents means that they could receive it only if very few conditions met, like if they are fathers of 3 or more kids below 18, if they are sign off from army list, which means that they have very severe injuries or very bad illness. Cancer, whatever illness you can imagine, not in that list. It's just very specific cases. And right now, mostly every man who go for the medical commissions, which should say if it's okay or not okay for him to serve, in most cases it would be okay for them to serve. Probably should have you shouldn't have like 2 legs or 2 arms to be removed from that list. Maybe you should be completely blind. So it's like very edge cases. Everything which treated normally as not available for serving in army, now it's available. But again, it's a war in which only usual persons are taking participation and dying. So no deputies, no government officials, none from quite rich people, none from, so there are no like even bloggers who, except few exceptions, which again are not on the front line, who will tell you about war, but normally they're not in the war at all. So of course there are some media person who kind of at the war, but again they protecting some interesting borders. I don't know where. So the thing is, it's not like substantial war, and of course most of those people who are visible, people who are public figures, so not their kids, not their friends, no one from them are actually dying in this war or go into this war. And right now, when there is a chance to change the rhetoric and say, okay, we want to stop this war, Ukraine like goes crazy because stopping the war is not, it's end of power for multiple people who are in the power right now. Even if it saves a lot of lives, it's not people at power in Ukraine actually wants. And they used a lot of things just to deny the fact that Ukrainians need stop of the war. Of course, they said they need stop of the war, but on like good conditions. And good conditions, whatever impossible conditions you can imagine would be a good conditions for Ukraine officials. Like if Russia should go back to the territories they have before went in Ukraine. How far back? If it's like they call borders of 1991, which includes that Russian couldn't flee from Crimea and from more than 4 regions they control. Part of those regions they control right now. I think biggest part, but it's still not the full 4 regions. Or if they go to borders of 1990, it means all Ukraine should go to Russia because that was a time of Soviet Union when there was central government in Moscow. So it's very strange demands. Of course, some demands say that Russians should pay. If it's about money, I think even Russia could consider that, like paying some amount of money for restoration. But also they want to, like, there are some rumors that they agree to give their more than 300 billions of dollars blocked on some bank accounts in Europe. But probably they want to say, okay, give us some money back so we could restore other part of Ukraine which we control right now. So there is of course possible negotiations points, but the thing is that in history of this war, probably there are only 1 month at the beginning of the war, maybe 1.5 months when those negotiations were actually happening. and they were pretty successful. They even signed something, signed before presidents should sign, and it was a good peace negotiations. It means that most of the territories will return to Ukraine, excluding Crimea. And Crimea is not part of Russia, but it's like territories on over which they can debate and should have some voting in Crimea in 10 years, which should define the next story for that land. Only, of course, that Russian language should be considered a second language, second national language in Ukraine. And there are a few other things which, of course, much better than what we've seen over the next 3 years of death, and destroyed cities and everything. Of course, I had some hope that on Trump, because it's leader of the biggest nation, strongest nation in world, which doesn't look back and see what other people talk about him. And even if he not always providing most wisdom point of view per my understanding, at least he providing the point of view which is he really thinks, or at least close to that. Of course, he's changing his mind from time to time, so it's not the most wisdom, yes, and most maybe even clever leader in the world. But what he can do, of course, he could press something to the end. Hopefully, it will happen. Of course, I don't see good consequences, at least unless people want to war continue, because even Trump will bring some negotiations on the table. It doesn't mean after everyone will sign them, they will stop. And to end this war forever wants maybe Russia even more than Ukraine, because they want, okay, it will be those terms, we are okay with them, and we can put our money into something else. But for Ukraine, it's such anti-independent country, and there are so many non-known relationship between Ukrainian government and some other parties, probably including United States, that it's very hard to predict what they have in their mind. And of course, everyone sees that those people are ready to push Ukraine into a fireball of war with multiple hundreds of thousands people dead. What will stop them doing it again? I am remembering Vietnam, when United States signed some peace negotiations in 1973, 73, and it was probably good for them because they ended a very long war without the ability to win, of course, and where multiple Americans died, and they leave this war on a good note of signing some negotiations. But then in less than 2 years, the North, Viet Cong, won south part of Vietnam, and basically Vietnam became a communist country. I see some parallels with the situation right now. Probably United States want to flee from Ukrainian crisis when they could leave it on some good note. Okay, I'm looking at my stream on my phone and it's ugly. It's ugly because I see that like half of packets are lost. I have no idea how it would be visible after stream will end, but yeah, right now it's very hard to look and see, because basically with every Yeah, with every minute I see that some slideshow, not something people could have say. Okay, so that was updated, and those two streams we have two applications which do its work. My stream speed is 0 kilobytes per second. It's really strange. It's really strange. Maybe my ComSat switching something over the night. I don't know, but yeah, it doesn't look good. So oh, I switched the language. Nice. So I try to work slightly on my application right now. It's not early, it's not late, it's just morning in the United States, and my internet is half live. I'm trying to reconnect my Wi-Fi to see if it will help. Okay, some Wi-Fi signal come back, and it shows some stream speed improvements. Interesting. Okay. Okay, maybe even it will work now. Who knows? Let's try to reset my statistic in OBS Studio. Oh, I don't see drops anymore. Okay. So we'll do some transition to here. And I believe I started to start my database engine. No. Is it possible to start something like command prompt by default? No. All files output gather, not generate, but gather files. Okay. Okay. So let's see if it will work right now. Dashboard, input files, nice. Channels. So let's see our config docs purpose. Okay. So let's see our recent recommendation from Grok. Let's implement further modular routers. Admin and dashboard handle multiple responsibilities. In admin, separate user management points into new user management by router. Okay. Routers, admin. let's say user management I. No. Oh, and from admin we want to router get page router post user enable add remove. If we just go to user management here and from admin we probably need to, yeah, we don't need to type more user, probably we can get the same thing here. App routers, let's call it user management by, and in admin we just from routers, maybe user management. Let's see how we have management import routers in dashboard. Okay, we do we don't, we just need, oh, have that, and we have two router pages, page and redirect admin page view and admin page view, admin page view. And in main py probably we need to include here user management. How can we do normal import, like maybe something like that? No? Okay, looks good. And here we should just include router for admin, include router, yeah, something like that. Okay, and let's see on our UbiCorn. It's starting reloading. Really? Yeah, really. Router. from routers admin import get current admin user. Do we have it in admin? Yeah, get current admin users. Okay. But now we should have everything here. Reloading. Maybe it's already reloaded. Let's see. Page and user. Okay. Test.com. Test add. And we enable it. Nice. Okay. Looks like that is working. App utils. Still a lot of losses in my internet connection, but I think it's fine. Slightly better. Let's say that slightly better. App storage template static. Let's add new folder. Utils. Interesting static. Routers init by utils. And in that case, we look for Grok. It using some utils like YouTube Py, login, and so on. And logic. Utilities. Logic utilities Py. Dedicated utils package. Okay. And we will look into logic, utilities, and utils. Let's create new file, login Py. Tap login. Okay. And now, what don't you like here? Okay, here we have something like struct log. Let's ask here. Okay, I have login Py as help me rewrite with struct log and why it is better. Let's learn from GPT and Grok something new. rewritten. We have struct log, all of those. So we just extended that and set up login in for get attribute login basic struct configure processor filter by level at logger name at logger level format exception info JSON render context and get logger. Example of usage optional for testing logger setup login info accept value exception an exception occurred exception debug extra detail debugging info name extra detail and it would be in install struct log replace setup login with login info downloading calls with new version, for example in the loader. Why struct log is better? Standard login produce plain text output like this. Okay. Output struct data, for example JSON timestamp info event URL. This is machine readable, making it ideal for log aggregation tools like Splunk. I know from all of this only Splunk. Key value. Add context as key value pairs like logger info event key value. This allows to attach metadata like user ID, URLs, or task ID to logs without messy string formatting. Example, in the YouTube downloader, you can log something like that. Okay. Struct log use a pipeline of processors, timestampers, JSON render. Then you can customize. Want to log in different format? Pretty printed text instead JSON, just swap the renderer. Key value renderer, okay. Integration with standard login. Login mode is compatible, okay. Better exception handling. Format exec inform, exception info, automatically structured into log output with stack traces. Scalability for production, reduced boilerplate, trade-off, slightly more complex, output size, okay, performance, why it's better, nice, okay. So let's do setup login. Return login. So of course it would be slightly more complex. Okay. And from utilities, we can completely remove the log files. And from main, we surely can remove struct log. We can say from app utils login import logger. Now, from our logger, we have login import setup login. Import setup login, correct? And we just take setup login and log level info looks good. What no name logger in model login? And what don't you like? home. Init user. Let's just replace all the print with logger. Okay. We receive some issue. Utilities from utilities import sanitize setup login. It's happening in downloader py. From app utils login import setup login. Okay, what else do we have? Reloading. Okay, from app utils login import setup login here as well. This setup we should get rid of. It doesn't, that config, it doesn't should stop us from anywhere. Okay, what do we have? We have right now stream without frame drops, which is nice. Oh, it's DeepSeek status. By the way, DeepSeek previously have issues with search, but you see it doesn't show that in web chat interface any no downtime, just no search, but it's not represented in status well. So how we will test our login, which is of course important part of any project, because later you can't debug everything on your local machine. If someone say I have some issues, you just say, okay, I will help you. And for that, we need to have good logs in production. So we have, for example, some routers. Yes. And what we want to do, let's say config details. Yes. Probably config details, create prompt, new prompt, update, create parameter. So let's just in that logger, or in that router, let's just create from app utils login, not logger. It's called now utils login setup login. My memory like memory in fishes, in fish. So view config details. logger info View config details, and let's say user equals user ID, maybe ID, config ID. Okay, will it reload everything? Oh, we need also setup logger, like here, logger equals setup login. Okay, now it should be better. Reloading, and it's when we look for config details. Not nice page, by the way. So we have channel configs. We click on config and see config details. Okay. So server is restarted. Config details reloading. Okay. All that message to SQL. All the message to SQL. Info get channel config. So that is where we look user ID equals something, select top user ID. Then we get engine started, select top config ID from configs, select tom config, okay, we loaded everything, select prompt from prompts, select config from configs, engine, of course, again, the same thing, engine generated rollback, info, get, retrieve. And what if we just try to, is it possible to clear everything? No. Okay, let's refresh. So that's in already 2 times. If you reload, okay, it's already 4 times. Get config details, get config details. Let's see on our logic, on our utils once again. Okay. Let's see what it will say about best practice. Especially Azure deployment. For std output, structure log, which is already partially done in the previous version, will tweak to clarity to ensure works seamlessly with Fast API. So log level, we get it info by default, our basic config, our struct configure, and I believe setup login as module level, Fast API, middleware, mount static templates, logger info, startup, shutdown, root endpoint accessed. Okay, let's do it like that. Logger debug. Interesting. We do logger info, I believe, but let's see. Oh, we should say logger debug, logger debug, and logger debug. Okay, and logger debug, and home we just say something like logger debug. Okay, let's see if it will work here. Main py. Okay, yeah, I don't see any issues anymore. Will it restart? Interesting. If it's, let's use dashboard. Okay, come to the dashboard. We have the dashboard here. And in the dashboard, we should say root endpoint accessed. Okay. I don't know how to stop that. Unicorn. Control C doesn't work for some reason. Okay. Anyway, let's check our logger with what it's proposed here in grok message once again. So setup login. And we look here, setup login. Log level. Okay. Basic log level stream std out. Sys std out. Okay. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Everything here is exactly as before. Bound logger. Okay. So what we can do, we just can stop, new command prompt, and just re-execute our UV pawn once again here. Okay, application startup completed. Event, we are using OpenAI SDK logger putils login level info timestamp. Yes. So yeah, looks like it's working at least somewhere. It should start with that bracket. And what I will do, I'll go and refresh that page. Dashboard. And we should come here and see it somewhere. Begin, select top user, input files, order, generated. What if you just remove dashboard here? Okay. Okay, dashboard, found, begin, MinPy. So before it should do to redirect to dashboard. Logger, setup login. Let's see once again in grok how we could set up it. Logger, log level debug. Let's set it for debug level. Bless me. Sorry. Hopefully it wasn't on the stream. So, and we look in here, logger debug, root endpoint accessed, logger info, run. Okay, it's something it should produce. If you hit root endpoint accessed. Okay. Actually, I like even those format. Best practices. Output logs for std out is ideal for local development because you can see a log immediately. It works seamlessly with Docker. Std is captured in contained logs like Docker logs container. Avoid writing to files locally unless you need persistent logs for debugging. Use environment-based configuration. Set up login. Environment if it's local. Production. Else, okay, value renderer. Okay, we don't need that. Centralized logger initialization. Python. And reuse it across modules. Logger, setup logger. App logger. And then app main import app logger. Log key events. By the way, I like that. And whenever we are using it, for example, in our, let's say, admin, okay, and where we have it as well, we have config details. So like that, without setup logger. Looks good. Looks good. And in config py, we also can use it like this. And in logic downloader, even we can use that like this, and that will remove it. Okay. What's about, okay, where it says line 7 app py, it says what? Cannot import app from partially initialized model app main, most likely due to circular import. Probably because an admin in app py oh, okay, first of all, it should be initialized here. App on events. Log event response with FastAPI middleware production considerations. Using sidecar container or agent. Avoid overlogging. To key events. Final sets. Okay, and let's look that middleware. I like that idea. we just go here, middleware, app middleware, log request. Probably we can move it down. Exception handler middleware request started. And what is here for us? Okay, I understand. How to fix? Move logger initialization outside of main py and attaching to app. Create a separate model that provides global logger instance. This avoids the need of admin py to import app. Update admin py to use standalone logger instead. Okay, login, setup login, logger equals setup login. Let's do that. Next would be X. Main py from me import logger. Okay, main py. We will not initialize login here. We will just import login like it is. And basically the same command we can use in admin py. One, config details. Two, downloader. 3, and config 4. Waiting, startup complete. Okay, what we see here after startup? We see few things. First of all, reloading event. We using, okay, reload all the databases. Okay, complete. Method get local event status 302 login info timestamp. Method get dashboard. Okay, and here in that dashboard event, actually here, get redirect. Interesting. Looks like we never hit that code. We never hit the main py, and we never hit that mode home. Let's see dashboards. Dashboard. So let's import logger. User access dashboard. Beginning and last execution of ubicorn. Yes, just to see if our login is working where we want. So it's returned as everything. Start application complete. Get first one thing, status code request completed. Event request started, request completed. Request started. Dashboard. User access dashboard logger level timestamp. And then we request completed. So yeah, we need to restart it to see those. Still looks like home. Never. Let's see once again. Main. We have our logger. And we have our global exception, log request, and home logger for debug. Maybe it's because we used debug, not info, and we are on info level. Reloading, okay. Yeah, looks like that. Root endpoint accessed. It's working fine. How to define minimal level which should be shown in std out logs. For example, I seen info but not debug. Simple question just to finish with login at the current stage. Okay. Login, log level in 4 for log level in 4, format, basic config, format, basic config. Oh, so configure the login system using structures for login arcs. Default info if not provided, or even if warnings unset. Okay, understand. Set up login, level, filter, in 4. So here we can just say logger, log level in 4. Log level in 4 in and log level in 4, then run main, show debug and run ball comparison. So basically, to change our default level, we just need go here and say log level, log, not debug. And then if we want in our main py, return it back to debug, it would be reloaded. Okay, and we can return to our page, and we want to say we want to go to that endpoint, and let's see what will happen here. Yes, so we have root point access to logger level debug. Nice. Level in 4 timestamp. So everything is in login now with all that levels. Okay, at least now we are fine with login. We just need to not forget adding that. What's next? Okay. You know what? Ask Grok and ChatGPT about the few different things. So let's open recent YouTube helper. And we can go to that KMD and say Python gather files. And at the same time we can go and say Python prepare for LLM query. Now what? No, our chat here. Hey, I want to implement functionality from my local project in my new project, which can run in cloud, so more people could use it. Can you please help me to do that? Sync, attach. Let's go to our projects and probably let's go to my projects of Romantic Developer. Combined files for LLM is my local project, and my current cloud project is, and let's see if we can add another file. Attach projects, my project, video creator. Let's search for all files, and we have all files output. We will can say that file would be removed. Please provide me some important steps I can do to move in my progress. Please provide full code snippets for that. Thank you very much. Okay, let's try the same thing here. Let's use the chat, of course, new. Let's do something like that, and let's click upload from computer, copy, and let's upload another file from Romantic Developers, combine files. Okay, it would be my second test, and for my third test we'll use O1 Promote, which doesn't support connecting any files. Combined for LLM. Let's come here and copy all of those. And let's come here, and it would be all files output. Copy. No. Most probably we will hit some limits here, most probably. But let's see. And the message was too long. Okay. It's a big text. It's routers. Okay, and it would be my next message. What if I'll stop it? Will it forget it or not? So make sure your local code is self-contained in Docker image. For example, if Docker installs all depends, copy your code to set up default start your app. Okay. Update Docker Compose for multi-container deployment. Run your, okay, configure CI with Azure Pipeline. Stage build. Stage deploy. Okay, looks like I merged local code into your cloud repository. Test and iterate, final thoughts. Shitty answer. Grok is here. Let's sync. Smartest. Smartest. Sync. Here. Hello. Let's refresh. Okay, let's see what it's proposed looking just in my local code. Copy local code into new repository. If you already have a requirements.txt, merge, handle environment variable and secrets, remove from new repo, modify, example, ensure system dependencies are installed, Docker. Install and run in the cloud, Docker build, my cloud projects, using system Python in cloud, with GitHub Actions, updating on demand, automated task, Lambda handler, storing our credentials in secure location. If your app is ephemeral, you can rely on local disk to keep token. Okay, let's insert what we have. Let's see if it can combine two things together. Okay, let's see on Grok. Wise nest of space. Let's reload it. Okay, for Grok it looks very big. I, of course, would agree that requests to LLMs should be pretty simple and small. Otherwise, yeah, it could lose in details. But again, all the code we've sent, it's not super pooper huge. It's not super pooper huge. I think that's it, yes. It's already stop finishing, syncing. Yeah. It's too big. Too big, too big, too big. Okay. Let's attach. I'll send you my original file in my original project in the next message. let's try to be equivalent here. So let's ask Grok to wait for my next message. And in my next message, I can just go and send it something from my, no, from that one. Okay, below a quick compare and verify summary. Content you provided with a, which appears to be your new cloud-based project and how it fits with the local code you shared earlier. I like it. It means that even for GPT-o1 Pro, all code we shared, it's at least can compare it about what it's saying. Overview of your new cloud project. You include Docker file, Azure pipeline. Okay. Project Python structure. Redis or as a container in production. Azure Cache for Redis if you prefer. MySQL, okay. Yeah, my strong password for local. Key difference. The new cloud project focus on unified Celery approach. Your local code mostly about transcribing, prompting, or handling the smaller scripts. Here, those features are integrated into web app architecture with user logins, DB models, and web UI. Dependency database, Azure pipeline, things to verify or adjust. Check any reference to local script. For instance, do you still need live chatbot, discussion starters? So if so, integrate them into your new app folder or convert them to road Celery task. Environment variables. Make sure your Azure environment has all the necessary variables if you still use LLM code. File storage. Storage provider approach. Confirms that it production and we set production so it picks Azure Block Storage. Also confirms your Azure storage connection string and are set. DB migration. Longer running scripts. Testing. Next steps to finalize. No, I've just started. Let's continue to work on full migration. Let's start on downloading files from YouTube. If we specified YouTube link as input file type. Let's have some configuration which we will use with input file to identify if we want to download full video or just best audio from YouTube, and then please store it with unique name into the same folder structure like uploads, user ID, input file ID, YouTube link, YouTube download ID, and add. Okay, let's see if it can handle such task. Let's see about Grok. to integrate the functions from your local project into your cloud project. Deploy it to Azure. Follow the detailed steps. Review, identify functionality, integrate. Okay, copy relevant code to cloud project. Update, import, integrate LLM router into your cloud projects. Generate summary endpoint. Summary. And summary. Okay. Integrate background task for LLM. Update dependencies. LLM results. Actually, it's not bad. It's not bad. Okay, let's see Grok 3 in action once I provided it all the code. And O promote still syncing, which is fine. I like the way it's syncing. It's like providing something with some speed the human can read, which is nice. Okay, I decided even I need a discussion starters at the moment, which is fine. That is provided much less details, as you see. Add a download type parameter to config. If you already have config parameter models that holds key value pairs, we can define a key like download type that can have value, full video, audio only. Example, config parameters table, insert row with param download type, full. Or you can store these settings directly in prompts or store it input file if you prefer. Okay, modify the Celery task to check download type. If you task by or any Celery task, you have likely something like download video URL string. But we want logic to see if user wants accept an input file ID instead of the task, so we can query DB for the relevant config parameters. Yes, it's a good catch. Looking download type parameter that config, setting options accordingly, storing the final download file in somewhere. Updated snippet. Task download YouTube. Input. Okay, it just say input file ID. It's not say input task. Input file config. Config parameter field or config ID. Config ID. If no parameters, then yes, else it would be default. Okay. Login info, downloading, random ID. base dir pass input file ID, random ID, parents true, exist, okay, true, download mode, full video format, stream, or output template, base dir. Base dir, and again some file. Okay, outputs, YouTube DLP download. Let's see what file got read, and we can store it in input file artifacts. Update input file for simplicity. Let's find the largest file in that folder. Multiple files. Downloaded files list glob. If not, base dir. Base dir is okay. It should download into the base dir. Okay. Nothing, possibly failure. Largest file, download file. New artifacts, input artifacts, add new artifacts. Input file status downloaded, db commit, downloaded, add db commit. Logger info message, downloaded model, largest file. Key points. Trigger this task from input file spy. You previously had input file task. Process input file task delay. For now, instead of process input file task, you can directly call download YouTube delay new input ID. If you want to skip input file task approach for now. Even want to keep task out of task pattern with input file task entries, that's also fine. Or you'll do something like delay new task ID is the download object type. Show little UI to let the user pick audio with video and config details. Parameter key, font, parameter value, selected, audio only, video only, parameter form, config details. Observing the result, summary. You know, not as bad. Copy relevant files, directory placement, services, routers, task. I like the services, of course. And just import. Setup login, okay. Configure environment variables, okay. Okay, create API endpoints, AI, transcribe, audio, access denied, transcribe started, task ID, process transcript, task delay, process transcript task, nice. Generate summary. I don't have task generate summary actually. Summarize, create chat completion. So it's just created some generate summary task from Air. Leverage background task, process transcript task, transcribe audio file pass, OS remove file pass, clean up, status completed, download YouTube video, downloader download, update Docker compose, Image Redis Alpine. Build depends on Redis. Update dependencies. It required libraries from requirements to the project. Update Docker file. Secure endpoints. Test locally. Deploy to Azure. Update documentation. Summary. I like Grok that it says update documentation. Let's ask the very similar questions to what we've had with O1 Pro. So of course I did multiple mistakes, but let's propose something like that. Okay, it's also proposing something interesting here. That was super fast, of course. Update input file model. Input file, source file, YouTube, input file, source type. Basically, I believe it's already it. No? Let's search for input file. Of course. That is transcript I sent to it. So it has input method, YouTube remote, input file, include source type, download type field for YouTube specific option. Identic schema. Download option. Implement YouTube downloading logic. YouTube downloader in services. Download. The output ensures file saved where the folder structure will be. Okay. Update the API endpoint. Input file by create input file. Download type. Background task. Add task. What is the background task? Background tasks. YouTube downloader download. And YouTube downloader is our service. Okay. Store and track the downloaded file. Okay, db input file. Filter file ID, input file ID first. Download file path. Commit. Pass the database session to the background task. Create input file. Background task. db. Now, for Celery, you need to pass the database session differently or handle it with the tasks for the implementation. So, what I could say that, of course, that approach, even if it's not exactly how I'd implement it, but you see, it's much more in line with my current code and approach. it's immediately create celery task rather than background task, which I haven't used at all. So it's already provided me the task py and download YouTube. It took that input file ID. Even if I want to have input file task ID, yeah, it took mostly, it did everything I want except input file task ID. But then it says, hey, in your input file, you previously had something like that, input file task. But now instead of process input file task, we can directly call download YouTube delay. If you want to skip approach for now, alternatively, you can keep your task of task pattern entry. So it's also fine. We do something like, and if input method is YouTube, input file task here, you commit it. And then you say process input file task delay new task ID. But you've update process input file task, so it calls download YouTube with download type logic. So it's exactly what I'm going to do. So basically it's provided me everything except not very well-defined parameter strategy thing, because I haven't very well defined it in code yet. So I see that we have already 2 hours of stream. Right now, speed is pretty good. But yeah, I think I will switch to main camera now and we'll say you some goodbye. I'll continue probably doing some work here and return to the next stream with at least download working fine. But yeah, I couldn't promise you that because today's weekends and I need to spend time on multiple other topics. So, but anyway, it's what we will do. We will move our implementation by implementation to that strategy. I want to have something like task, file task ID kind of dispatcher, which will do analyze what exactly it's need to execute. And I like the services, so it can go and execute code in services. I like login, which we spent some time today to finalize. We will use that login everywhere, so we will have very good information about what we are doing, and then we can implement that login with some Azure supported thing. Maybe not Splunk, but they mentioned something about in Azure some login. Maybe we can use some more native to Azure login. Let's see. Anyway, I like those changes we done today. We talked slightly about politics, but it was when stream quality was really bad. I'm not sure if it will be preserved. Anyway, let's see. The most important thing that we need to take care is the peace, because with peace, yeah, our bodies and souls can move forward much faster in a peace of, maybe not souls, but bodies. I mean, we have much more capabilities in the peaceful countries to investigate into some really cool things, not weapon and something else. So yeah, let's praise for a peace. Of course, I couldn't say that I believe it would happen soon, because I don't see, eagerness for the peace. I don't see that people dream on peace, at least in sufficient amount of them. I see people who live in Europe, in the United States, in quite good conditions, I mean, in quite good situation, when they have money, when they have everything for their living, and they said, no, 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 no. That peace is bad. We need good peace. We need good, strong peace, and so on. And maybe they are correct, of course, but I believe to start a peace, you need to start with any peace, and then you should gradually improve it. You know, it's not worth wait another few years when another millions of Ukrainians will die on this war, and other few millions will receive some bad wounds, which would prevent them from living a normal life after that. Rather than stop it, start peace negotiations and just go and improve it from time, like every month, every day, and start living peaceful values. Start living values which are good, which are not self-destroying, which are not in some aggression way. But looks like, yeah, Ukrainians still not have drink its, you know, its drink of hate to the end, and they need to drink it more, looks like, before they can start their lives over again, I mean from scratch. Yeah, but let's see. The upcoming weeks will show something in that field, I'm sure, and hopefully it would be more optimistic than I see right now. Okay, guys. Anyway, I wish you all the good, and hopefully you will have a wonderful day. Right now, I'm trying to, yeah, get to the point where I am in the streams, and I'll wave you goodbye and see you later whenever you are ready. Please leave me some comments if you wish, if you want, if you're interested in something, and we'll review them together starting next stream. I'll always review any comments. Right now I don't have them many, so you are in a good moment in time to ask your questions. See you guys.